JT looked down at the blanket, studying a corner of it intently. Finally, he asked, "Why did it have to happen? Why?" Mama Melcy shook her head slowly. "Why? Oh, child, I wish I could give you the answer, but I can't. Seems like life got a whole lot more questions than answers to it. Seems like there ain't answers to no questions that don't end up. If you wait long enough, being just another question of a different sort." JT listened carefully, and she continued, "You start out young asking questions, and you end up old asking questions. And the puzzlement is, they mostly the same questions. They just a few years apart. Where you think you got answers to match up to the questions?" JT thought about what Mama Melcy was saying, then said, "At school, when we having tests sometimes, I about miss every question there is." Suddenly he felt his pain again and whirled around, beating his fist on his pillow. Why did it have to happen? Why? Mama Melcy patted his head soothingly. Death is a mean way to learn about life, but that's the way of it sometimes. That's just the way of it. They were silent for a while. Then JT spoke what Mama said about a cat having 9 lives. That's just an old saying, ain't it? Ain't no truth to it, is there? Well, now, there is some truth to all them old sayings. That's how they got to be old sayings, because they're partial truth to them. JT turned and looked at her hopefully. Then maybe Bones, maybe he's got some lives left. Maybe 4 or 3, or sure he has. Sure he has. Mama Melcy assured him, he's just gone someplace better to live. That's all. She paused for a moment, then looked directly into his eyes and said, "But you, what about you? You just got one life to live. What are you gonna do with it?" JT buried his head in his pillow. "I don't understand," he said. "I just don't understand nothing." Mama Melcy tucked the covers and turned around his shoulders. "What you got to understand, child, is yourself, and that ain't no easy matter. You are a right complicated little person, you are." She bent down and put her arms around him, rocking him back and forth for a long moment, gently stroking his head. Then she held him at arm's length and looked straight into his eyes. "If you won't answer," she said, "maybe you just better listen to your heart." She smiled and poked him in the chest. "The batteries ain't dead in there." She gave him a big squeeze, kissed him goodnight, and got up to leave. On her way out, she eyed the neon lights flashing on and off across the wall. Bar and grill, bar and grill. Peculiar wallpaper, peculiar, she muttered to herself. JT stared after her. The next day, Miss Rosen watching through his window when JT passed on his way to the empty lot. JT approached the little house with his head down. Then slowly he looked at it, trying hard to fight back the tears. He stared a long time at the welcome mat. He grabbed it suddenly and flung it out across the sky. It landed near a piece of rubber hose he had used to listen to Bones' heart. He picked up the hose and toyed with it, remembering and thinking. He put one of the hose to his ear and the other to his chest and listened thoroughly. Slowly he rolled it up and stuffed it into his pocket. He looked at the hose one more time, then unable to bear it any longer, turned and ran off down the street. That night, JT watched television after that. Supper while his mother and Mama Melcy went to the prayer meeting. They had just come home, and Mama Melcy was commenting on how she liked the way the preacher taught when the doorbell rang. It was Mr. Rosen. Huffing and puffing was climbing the 6 flights of stairs with his arms full. Mama Melcy and Rodine looked at each other, startled by Mr. Rosen's unexpected visit. "Come in. Come right on in," Mama Melcy said warmly. Mr. Rosen gave her the blanket he was just carrying and said, No, I can't stay. I just brought this by. It's a little something for the boy." Then something moved in the basket. Mama Melcy looked down into it cautiously. Underneath Mrs. Rosen's muffler, she saw the wide eyes of a scrawny kitten. As startled as everyone else seemed to be, she set the basket down on the floor and said, "Well, what a surprise. Look here, Mr. Rosen. Done brought to put under the Christmas tree."